Greetings, everyone. Hello to my fellows on Twitch. Hope you all are doing well today. It is a day 74 of my 90-day challenge, and we're almost three-fourths the way through. So, very excited and very happy that, yeah, um, we're almost coming to the end of this first challenge of this year, and then leading into the next challenge 2 weeks from now. So I believe that's right. Yeah, three weeks from now, right? So once again, we will be doing a 3-day workshop on the 30th, as I'll be wrapping up my last 2 days of work here, and then heading into just a short vacation. So yeah, back to work next Thursday. So yeah, so I'm definitely, once again, just didn't need a long trip. It's just, a nice day to to just have a nice relax. Well, welcome, bestie. Hope you are doing well today. Thank you. I am gonna get a haircut with Ishwar this Wednesday, so gonna get a nice nice trim before spring break is over. I hope you are doing well. Hopefully the vacation went well, and I think you'll be getting ready for your next one. But yeah, so far, yes, so far we are in day 74 of this challenge, and as of now, just lost about 20 pounds. Hopefully, a little bit more here to wrap up this challenge. But overall, no, I'm happy with the results. And just imagine now adding exercise to it. So overall, once again, exercise is not the road to is the road to being healthier. But obviously, you have to get healthy first, and getting healthy first is, once again, staying on top of your food and nutrition, right? And not really about eliminating it first, but definitely most important is that you get the good stuff first, and that will help alleviate uh, the withdrawals once or at the same time limit the cravings for junk and processed foods. So once you give the body, once again, having that body talk as well on top of that, giving the body what it needs to operate and function, and most importantly, heal, right? Then there's no room for the other stuff. So once again, it's always great to just eat the good stuff first, and then if you have room for that stuff, then so be it, right? So but yeah, just prioritize um, staying on top of your nutritional needs, right? So yeah, tonight we'll be talking about something that was part of my training as a holistic coach, but also was created by the founder of Mind Valley, which is the 6 phase meditation by Vision Likiani of Mind Valley. It was definitely something that has helped me for many years. Definitely, releasing all the tensions and stress from the day, but at the same time has helped me in a lot of ways of just planning for the future, building intuition, just building that gut feeling, and then at the same time just taking actions on those gut feelings, right? So it's very important that you have some sort of stress relief, especially life is full of challenges, right? So if you don't have a way to reduce that stress and release that stress, then it just builds up, and sooner or later you're just gonna have that day where you just unleash that. And sometimes unleashing that may be onto someone, right? And someone probably that you love, someone's very important. And sometimes, once again, it's definitely it's not your intention, but it's just it's, as they say, the straw that broke the camel's back, right? So you just got to that point where you just things are piling up, and just maybe some simple requests from a loved one, and then that's it. You snap. So definitely the 6 phase meditation has helped me, and we'll just briefly go through that on tonight's session. And once again, it's a nice, we'll say, 18-minute process, but we live in a time that we're just busy, right? And we try to get the easy fix, or convenience, right? The fast food, or make our way to Starbucks and Tim Hortons before we head out to work, or we head out to school, right? So, but once again, convenience doesn't mean convenience to our health. So, but like I said, it's life keeps going, and just for the moment, especially from last night's episode, go with the flow, right? Swim downstream, and just pivot as best as you can. So the 6 phase meditation was definitely put in place to basically, let's ask the question: what is your ideal when it comes to meditations? A lot of people think it's just calming your mind, silencing your mind, just clearing your mind from from thoughts till maybe there's nothing to think about, right? So there are 2 ways to use meditation. And once again, everything, we have this perceived notion when it comes to meditation, right? But that same thing goes to exercise, right? I'll just exercise. But what does that mean, right? So we lump everything to one thing that just, one word to sum it all: exercise. So like same thing with meditation, one word to sum all of when it comes with uh the mind, and scanning through it, and um getting that data. So exercise, once again, exercise can mean many things: going to the gym, strength training, swimming at the pool, go biking, go running, right? So exercise, just basically just that one word to sum it all. It's the same thing with meditation. There's many forms of meditation, and it can sum up like breathing exercises, right? Especially yoga, right? That is a form of just especially my favorite pose, the corpse pose, right? So just connecting with your mind, connecting with your body, connecting with your spirit, right? So once again, here we want to utilize the active, as a lot of people will use meditation as a passive skill, right? To just lower the noises and things that are running around in our head. But here we love to focus on the active side. It's like leaning into those thoughts and filtering to basically, like a science project, you ask a question: and then you do your research, you try things to uh, answer that question, right? So definitely, once again, meditation, and do recommend doing it at least twice a day, and it's really up to you on the length of time that you want to do each meditation. But definitely nice to do one first thing in the morning, upon waking up. You have about around 5 minutes to get started. As you know, when you wake up, you're still pretty much in the alpha state, right? This is definitely where intuition gets developed, right? This is one step below the beta state, where now this is where we are right now, interacting and communicating with everything around us. So you still have time, if you wake up and you want to have a glass of water, or you want to head to the washroom, right? So you still have 5 minutes to do those things, and then just get back into back to your bed, or getting back into if you have a place to get away from it all, the distractions and whatnot. So just head to the place, have a seated position. You don't have to cross your legs. You can just sit in your chair, right? And it's most important just to be upright, right? And then just go through the 6 different phases, and usually they go in this order, but depending on what you want to achieve for the day, you can nitpick these 6 different phases. So the first phase is it's compassion. So this is definitely a part where we put emphasis on the world around us, and just see things through through compassion and love, right? The next phase is just gratitude and appreciation, the second phase here. So definitely this is the part where you just appreciate the things that you currently have, appreciate the things that has happened throughout the day for you, right? So this is definitely happiness and gratitude, right? So this is definitely just we go through different things within that second phase. We go through 3 different scenarios where we look at what we're happy for that has happened to us, whether that day or the week. And then especially another location that we are often at besides our home. We look into what we are happy and grateful for at our work or at school, what has happened, the 3 things. So we'll just do 3 things for each, but up to you. On if you're pressed on time, then you can look into one thing that you're happy for. And once again, it could be just that day, or during the week, right? And then the thing that you're grateful. The third and final one is just, what are you grateful about yourself, right? So definitely just ask those questions. Just have a nice thought process through that, right? And then just listen to what comes up for you. Go back, great way to exercise your memory as well. Just go back of the events of the day, or the events of yesterday or whatnot. So definitely has help in a way to just run through the thoughts, filter through a lot of the noise, and just look through a lens of happiness and gratitude, right? Then we go into the third phase, and once again, it's nice to go in this order, but you can definitely skip a few if you want, if you're pressed for time, right? So phase number 3 is peace and forgiveness, right? And this is definitely once again uh, a great way to release a lot of stress, anxiety, and as you know, anger, right? So we share this world with a lot of people, and it's not like we are one big hive, where one species made out of many groups, right? Many cultures, many countries, various beliefs, right? So spirituality. So sometimes there's gonna be heavy opinions of certain things, and there's gonna be things that people don't agree upon. But it's uh, looking through a lens of peace and forgiveness definitely helps us navigate through that, and at the same time, just making sure a lot of the stuff does not stick to us, right? And you practice this long enough, right? You don't even have to forgive. You just you get to the point where you're already forgiving. You let things just don't affect you uh, again, right? So definitely this is a part where you visualize, especially if there's someone that just that challenge you for the day, just visualize a safe place in your house, right? Say, for myself, I just cross the in the kitchen, right? And where you can sit on one side and then visualize the other person on the other side, right? And definitely just have that conversation with them, just stating you know things on your end, and most important part is just at the end of that conversation, just most important is that I forgive you, right? But I will not let this run my life, or I'm gonna look past this, right? And then once again, if it's something, especially someone has done really wrong for you, that's unlawful, then obviously the things like you still do the forgiveness, right? And the same thing is like, I forgive you for doing this act that unfortunately um so say it's a criminal offense, forgive you, but unfortunately you'll have to serve time for this because it's an unlawful act. But I no longer will have this run my life anymore. So once again, just having that forgiveness, having made peace with it, definitely once again, we're at the stage of just letting things go, right? And we'll backtrack to number 1 again, with love and compassion. It's definitely a great way to start and lower your state, the love and compassion. So basically this state, you just visualizing, we start off sitting in there in our thoughts, and we visualize someone that we love, whether it's a spouse, your children, your pet, right? Just visualizing that person or thing in front of you, right? And then build that energy in your heart, giving it a color, up to you. Like for me, just red, right? And then visualizing it coming out of you, surrounding your body, and then getting to the stage of surrounding the room that you're in, the building, and then the building that you're in, and then your neighborhood. Just being able to project that energy, that love, and then at the same time, the person or thing that's in front of you, you can just definitely let them take them out of your visualization as you spread your energy, from yourself and outwards until the point where it's in companies. You could just see, like, maybe what do you call it, apple candy, or fondue, or just basically just starting your energy, and it's encompassing the entire earth, right? And then you can make some statements in there, just um, a positive statement in there, right? To, like, for myself, maybe all come together, love one another, be forgiving, and move forward and progress as a society. So just different examples. You can make your own statements. Once again, just definitely customize this for you, right? As myself, I start off with this, and I just turn it into a prayer, right? So that hit two birds with one stone. So just definitely customize this. Once again, this is just a starting point from it, and from that, just customize it to. But most important is the practice itself. And here's a nice thing to think about. Is it it's better? Is it better for you to do just one push-up a day, or better for you to do 100 push-ups once a month? Obviously, people will probably pick the multiple push-ups once a month, but at the end of the day, just doing the one push-up a day is about building that consistency, building that discipline, right? And to the point where you don't even have to think about it. It's just part of you, part of your routine. And that is definitely the part of doing meditations once or twice a day, right? To build that consistency where it's just part of what you do, right? If you're a prayerful person, then obviously this is part of your routine, in the morning, in the evening, and praying for your food. So definitely, once again, it's customized in a way, but definitely doing it every day to build that, develop that discipline, develop that routine, to the point where it's just part of what you do. And then you just stack habits. So one push-up a day becomes two, right? So you can see how the scales, instead of doing the 100 push-ups once a month, and you just definitely dread heading into that, the not building that, it's that not building, progressing, right? And it's just definitely, it's, you just go in it and just thinking, I don't want to do this 100 push-ups, my goodness. So when you do one push-up a day, you just like, okay, this it's good, just get it done and over with until it just becomes part of you, right? So all right, so we'll now fast forward to phase number 4. This is for vision for the future. So this is where, at the same time, we make sure that we have that, I know we want to live in the moment, focus on the current, but at the same time, you gotta make sure that your actions that you choose to make today will align with, once again here, who you want to be for the future, right? And definitely developing on yourself, right? So just having that vision for the future, whether you start with what you want to do tomorrow, what you want to do for 5 days from now, right? Or 1 month, 3 months, 1 year, 5 year, up to you, right? Once again, customizing this, but once again, just as meditation, we're building that foundation. And once again, our mind, our body is a sponge. It is gonna absorb information all around us, right? Stimulants and whatnot that's happening all around us. But if we don't guide those focuses into what you're looking into achieving for the future, then obviously you're just sponging information, and a lot of it may be irrelevant to the path that you want to head towards, your journey, right? So definitely, once again, it's very important you do not get swayed too much from all these things that do not apply. And that's why this 3-day workshop is going to help find your core values, and then through finding your core values, that definitely is going to help you filter a lot of the things that at the moment that don't apply. Once again, your core values will change over time, because you're developing, you're growing, and that's always going to be a constant thing throughout your life as the world develops and flows downstream, right? That you're going to adjust and progress forward as best as you can, right? So once you have that, your core values, we're going to do the 3 MIQs. So basically a great way of goal setting in a way where you're just not focusing A to B, you're focusing from A to B to C and onwards, right? So it's not enough to just like, I want to lose weight, right? I want to lose 10 pounds. It's like, why do you want to lose 10 pounds, right? What is a life that it's going to give you, which is, that will add that fuel to motivating. And that's why we're doing the 3-day workshop, to definitely enhance, why you need to do and get through the 90-day program, because you have this list of things that's going to fuel you to reach that goal, right? So vision for the future is is going to help you just definitely start your day knowing that all things that you choose for today is going to lead towards that destination. Just imagine, once again, it's like driving, taking a cross country drive. If you're making you decide to drive to your vacation destination, and unfortunately part of that is driving through the night. Obviously you can only see as far as your headlights go, and this is this is life, right? Where you can only focus on the day and see what's happening right in front of us. But obviously, if you're just gonna go through the day not knowing where you're going, just be surprised, and be surprised that the next you end up in your direction, and that's because creating that GPS, right, in your mind, in your vision for the future, is, and only having to see what's in front of your headlights, you end up in your destination. So definitely important, if you get the chance, if this, once again, if you're pressed for time, and obviously you can do this every other day, or do this once instead of twice a day. But definitely it's having that vision for the future is going to definitely, once again, uplift your state, right? So that you're just definitely looking forward to the day. And this is definitely something we talked about yesterday. If you can wake up each morning just looking forward to it, and knocking out those things that you want to achieve, then that's a great way to see that you achieve happiness, right? So all right, moving on here. Phase number 5, mastering the day. So now we thought about the future, and now we're planning out the day. And this is definitely a great way of just planning things out before they happen, or just definitely before you even leave the door, right? Planning your route, planning the things that you know, going through the things that you need to achieve for the day, right? It's having that plan in place. Sometimes we don't plan to fail. As they say, we just fail to plan. So definitely a great way to start your day. But at the same time, if you are able to only do this once a day, then obviously going through this before you head to bed, just planning it out, and then letting, at the same, letting your mind, you know, um, plan it out, and at the same time setting out that energy, releasing that energy to just make those routes, make those decisions, and once again you just create that domino effect, as they say, right? And it'll just come in full swing. So customize it to how you want to utilize it. But as athletes, go through their routines, right? It triggers, they can just think in their mind, and it still triggers, right? And you probably had those moments where in your sleep, and then you're like, you have those moments that it feels so real, right? And muscles, thought process, triggers, and it happens for these athletes who just think about the routines, and those muscles are firing at the same time, right? So that's the thing, you gotta practice this like it's we're practicing, we're exercising a muscle, just getting those reps in, and then just creating that clear picture in your mind, and manifesting that clear picture in front of us, right? So, and finally, last and for phase number 6 is support and blessing. So this part is really, it's a closing of our meditation, right? So it's really up to you, right? Depending on your beliefs. If you're a religious person, then obviously asking for blessings to uh, your belief, right? Or if you're not, then obviously there's two options here. Just um, asking support from your future self, right? As we're working on that, in phase number 4, that vision for the future. Great one is Alex Hermosi here. If you guys ever heard of him, wonderful entrepreneur, right? Basically, just has a conversations with his 70-year-old self, 50, 70-year-old self, and just asking if things are aligned, and at the same time we can look at ourselves today, right, and think of ourselves 10, 20 years ago, and thanking ourselves for making those choices, right? And just have that support from the future self of ourselves. Say, hey, that choice that you made today, that's gonna pay off for us in the when you get here, right? So just definitely closing those these loops up with and once again, you could up to you want to visualize of that person across from you on the table, a future self of you, and seeing how you want to look. And at the same time, once again, the body doesn't, the mind just takes this data, and if you have that picture of yourselves so deep in your mind, your mind was just gonna make that reality and do its best to, once again, very important to eat the right foods, nutrient dense foods, hit your nutrition requirements, and your body's gonna mold itself to that vision of but then once again, you gotta do that time to visualize that, and then take those actions, those gut feelings, those intuitions towards that goal, right? Your body's gonna give you the signals, those gut feelings on making that, that vision reality, right? Because once again, the body and mind only knows two things: happiness and survival, right? And if this vision of yours is creating this happy moment of yourself, then your body is going to strive to make that happen for you. So yes, yeah. And at the same time, if you're religious, it does not help. It helps at the same time, just having, just imagine, a light beaming, you know, towards you from the top of your crown to the rest of your body, and you're receiving this blessing. Things are lining up, and just definitely most important that you do the work that you have set in phase 4 and phase 5 of visions of the future, and mastering your day that leads to those visions of the future. So hopefully this has been helpful. Definitely has been very helpful for me. And that's, when the pandemic happened, and my first thing to that, is find a way, right? Find a way to, especially losing work for 4 months in 2020, just like, find a way to, keep going, right? And then listening to great, influential people, and they all had, one thing that they've been adding into their routines, and it was meditation. And then obviously what we do, we Google that up, and that's how I fell onto this. This is how I fell onto Mind Valley, and just like for all this time, like from 2008 to 2020, I'd never heard of this, right? And they've been around that long, and it's like just felt like that's that missing part on a long journey, right? So you just be surprised when things come back in full circle, right? So yeah, definitely this was one of the things that I was learning, and then it became part of my coaching practice, and definitely has helped me in taking action in various things in life, as asking questions and things coming up and taking action on those. And hence things are not always perfect, but if 8 out of 10 hunches or gut feelings work out, then I'll take that chance. I will take those odds. And as we were saying here, if 70% of your health is through nutrition, let's work on that. Let's work on that 70%, right? And not swim upstream. Like, okay, I'll get exercise. So let's utilize this 30%. It's like, okay, well, it's gonna be an uphill climb, right? And that's why I'm doing this quarter. I only doing this challenge as just focusing on nutrition, and not running, not hitting the gym, not cycling. Just as simple as what we all do every day is just walking around. And obviously, I like to challenge myself, so I add the Japanese interval walking. So just switching between walking and speed walking every 3 minutes up to 30 minutes, right? So, but yeah, this has been my journey from 2020, right? And it has been, has brought a lot of peace to me, and helped the stress of going through COVID and going through a lot of challenges, and to the point where you guys probably see me today is just chill as possible. I definitely have my days, especially this. It has been a challenging thing with my eldest son since October 2024. But at the same time, all we can do, as they say, on a play, you got to put your mask first before you're able to help others. So just gotta focus on my overall health and well-being, and be ready. Be ready when when he's ready to finally come out of his room and try to trust the world again, right? So that's all I can do is just be healthy long enough to support him on his journey. All right, so hopefully this has been helpful for all of you, and I appreciate all of you and who reached out with your wonderful comments and support to my Hive members on Twitch. Thank you so much, as always, for our wonderful conversations every time we're alive. So, really appreciate that. Thank you so much. And as always, if this has been helpful for you, feel free to give it a like or thumbs up. This is being streamed on 3 different platforms: YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. So feel free to follow and subscribe. Hit those notification buttons when I go live. So once again, you can stay up to date with my QR code there. It leads to my website, so you can feel free to type that in, coachryanj.com, to get updates. And to at the same time, we're working on the sign up button there for the 3-day workshop, and then that'll lead you through list of sequence. You can also get my HiveFit Ignite book that is free to just give you understanding of the program, and so basically the lifestyle to just get you started. So just feel free to head over there. It's a work in progress at the moment, so if once that's ready, then I'll let you guys know. But yeah, definitely stay up to date through that website. All right, then once again, as always, continue to raise your environment. Your environment is gonna help you, even though when you're still developing and working on yourself. At least you are surrounded an environment that has been there and understands that where you need to go and support you, not take over the reins, but when you take those actions, you're not alone in it, right? So once you raise your environment, create that environment for yourself, then you're able to raise yourself, right? Raise your environment, raise yourself, and when that day happens, then you can now finally be that impact for your own environment, right? Your friends, your family, your colleagues, your very own community in the future, right? So take just trust the process, right? And at the same time, you're going through things that people don't know about, right? And same thing as others around you. You just don't know what they're going through. So an act of kindness for one another is definitely going to go a long way in, once again, just making the place a better place. So thank you so much for joining me tonight. I appreciate all of you. And let's catch each other again on the next stream. Take good care.